Hey, so there are two kinds of people. There are introverts and there are extroverts. And I am I am an extrovert. And the interesting thing is when you type in extrovert on Pinterest or on Google looking for an article, many times it will only bring up an introvert. Like, it'll bring up introverted stuff or introverted pins or things like that. Like, the majority that you get for typing in extrovert is introverted stuff. And my theory for that is that all the introverted people who wanted to be alone and have time to recharge, they were at home writing all those articles, and then all of the extroverted people were out and about, out with people. They didn't have time. Nobody got time for that, says the extrovert. But that is my theory. And again, I myself am an extrovert. And I'm going to give you 4 little points about what it's like to be an extrovert. Again, there's not a whole lot out there about extroverts, so I kind of wanted to give you a little tidbit on what it is like. And to start that off, again, every extrovert is different. I myself am an ENFJ. That's my personality type, or also known as a giver. And so, there can be an ESFJ. So they might be a little bit different than me, but the difference that I'm focusing more on is that E part, the E versus the I. The I being for the introverted, the E for the extroverted. So, again, what's the difference? And this is my first point. What is the difference between an introvert and an extrovert? Introverts like to be alone. They like to be away from people to recharge. They get their energy from being alone, and they kind of tend to feel drained when they're around people, and they need to recharge alone. They like people, but they gotta have their space. Extroverts like to be around people. We get our energy from being around people, from spending time with people, from doing things with people. Like, we just get all excited, when we're going to be around people. And for me, it is hard being an extrovert because, when you're at a get-together or, a game night or something, the majority tends to be introverts, and they all want to go home. But the extrovert is like, no, I want to stay. I want to keep going. Let's just go till 3 in the morning, like that. An extrovert does not want the party to end, and it's very, very hard to go home. And it's like that when you're having conversations with people. I don't want to pull away from someone I'm having a really good conversation with, and it's hard for me to say, hey, I gotta be up at 5 in the morning, I need to cut this short. It hardly happens with me unless I absolutely have to. It's so hard for me to pull back from someone and say, sorry, I've got to go home. And even, if I've got to study, if there's something going on a night I need to study, it's best for me to say, I don't even think I should stop by at all, because I'll get there, I'll be around all the people, and I won't want to leave. I'm just like, and it's so much energy that you can't use it to study. Like, it's hard to do that. And then, at the end of a long day, it's like, extroverts like to hang out with people and just chill. And even if you're just watching a movie together or just sitting in a room together and not doing anything, that's something that I like to do, is just have people around. At the end of a day of being by myself, I've got to have people over. I've got to get out of the house because it's like, it's too quiet. There's no one around. I'm tired of being alone. And that leads into my second point. Extroverts do like to be alone at some point. Um, I tend to get overstimulated by people. I tend to kind of get dependent on people. And so there comes a point where I need to be alone. I need to say, okay, I can't do this. You're just charging me up way too much. Like, you are overcharging my battery. I've got to calm down. I've got to let this just and just chill out for a little while. And so, that's one of the things, extroverts do like to be alone at some point. They do need a little bit of space too, but they just don't need it for very long. It's like, okay, I've had my me time, I've had my quiet time, I've had enough. That's how it is for me. Too long by myself, and I start to feel a little bit stir crazy, and it's like, okay, I need someone around. Anybody. I'm not sure my dog will fulfill that void. But then that leads into number 3. For me, as an extroverted Christian, as a Christian, I find that not only in my own life, but in the people around me, is that the Spirit of God has a way of moving you out of your comfort zone, or pushing you to do things that are against your personality. So in my introverted friends, I find that I see that God pushes them out of their comfort zone. And, when most of the time they would really like to be alone, they spend time with people, they spend time with me, they reach out to people, and that's not a natural thing for them to do, but because of what the Lord is doing in their life, they want to reach out and, be around people. And it's not like they're doing it begrudgingly. I mean, they just want to. And it's totally against what their personality type is. And so many times for the Christian, it can be kind of hard to figure out what personality they are, especially for the introverts, because they're spending a lot of time with people, and you think, wow, you don't seem like an introvert. But again, that's just seeing what the fruit of God, the fruit of the Spirit is doing in their life. As an extrovert, I need that alone time with the Lord, because at some point I tend to be dependent on people, tend to be kind of focused on people. It's like, oh, I'm depending on you for my fulfillment, for my joy, and for my happiness, and that's not okay. And so the Lord moves me to that time of being alone so I can focus on Him, redirect my thinking, my thoughts, my hearing to what He is trying to say to me, and not focusing so much on everyone around me. And it's not that He does not use them. He uses people in my life to speak to me, but He also, wants me, I feel that He wants me to be alone, to just surrender everything I have, to focus on Him, and to let Him lead. And I mean, it's not like I get an audible voice or, things like that. I just focusing so that I can let Him lead me through my life, and that I can surrender my life to Him. But again, that's just a way that the Lord has a way of changing you and pushing you out of your comfort zone. Number 4, as an extrovert, it is hard to deal with introverts at times, and especially when the majority of your get-togethers are introverted people. Of my close friends and the people I'm closest to and the ones I know what their personality type is, most of them are introverts. I mean, thinking of the close friends I have, of 4 that I have, 3 out of the 4 are extroverted. Or no, I take that back. 3 of the 4 are introverted. And I have 1 that is extroverted like me. So it's like, the introverted people want to go home early. They don't want to do as much. They need more time alone. And that's hard for the extrovert who wants to spend time with them. And so, So that's where serving one another comes into play, that the extrovert gives up that time that they want to spend with them for the good of that person, for the good of the introvert, saying, okay, you need your time, you take it, I won't smother you. And that's one of the things with my personality type, is a weakness that I struggle with is smothering, and struggling with not smothering people. So so just learning how to serve people in that way, especially when your friends are you have mainly introverted friends. And then again, introverted people, they will maybe take time out of their evening where they had planned to chill and maybe help an extroverted friend who's having a rough day, or things like that. So in conclusion, whether you are introverted or extroverted, whether you are an ENFJ like me or an ISFP, whatever you are, use what you have to serve Christ. You are, as a believer, as a follower of Christ, you are to take the gospel to where it needs to be. You are to glorify God with your life. You are to serve Him, to walk in His will. And so if He has made you an extrovert, you use that to serve Him. You follow His word, you study scripture, and with what you see, what scripture is wanting us to do, again, taking the gospel and obeying His commands, use that to serve Him, and use that to reach out to people. If you're really extroverted, you love to be around people, reach out to people. If you are introverted and there's other parts of your personality aspect, whatever you are, use it to serve Christ where you are at. To serve in your church, to serve believers, to serve non-believers. Whatever you are, use that for the glory of God. And if there's parts of your personality that don't seem to line up with scripture, with how you should be as a believer, then pray for change, and ask the Lord. It's like, Lord, this is a weakness. This personality, this thing that's a part of my personality is not good. It's a weakness. It's not helping me to love people. Then just pray that God would change you in that area. And again, you see that in the believer's life, is that they do tend to change and grow in a lot of areas. So yeah. So I hope that was helpful on knowing what things are like for an extrovert.